My partner and I and another couple friends of ours attended wedding as evening guests. Edit, note, we are in the UK, where it's common to have guests who are not invited to the actual ceremony or reception, and invited only for the evening party. The bride and groom are pretty casual acquaintances, and at the time we were flattered to be invited to come and enjoy the party. However, the whole experience made us feel like we were invited purely to boost the honeymoon fund and to ensure they made their minimum bar spend. No beige buffet was provided for the evening guests, despite the invite stating from 5 p.m. This seems pretty early to assume people had already eaten before arriving. There was no extra seating indoors beyond the assigned table seats for day guests, though there was a lovely terrace outside. We arrived at 6:30, as we didn't want to arrive in the middle of tables being cleared away. The dishes from the main course were just being cleared when we arrived. Most people were still seated, and there was an awkward air with some curious glances at us from the tables. We felt like we were gate crashing. We joined the bar queue. The bar staff were preoccupied by pouring glasses of fizz, which were quickly whisked away and handed to the seated guests. The two remaining bar staff didn't seem to know how to work the tills very well. At least I had plenty of time to drop in our card and gift, £50, in the mini postbox next to the queue. After milling around at the back for a bit, we went out onto the terrace. The weather was glorious and we were happy to have a drink and admire the view. We figured the bride and/or groom would circulate out to the terrace at some point, because there really wasn't anywhere to mingle in the main room while the tables were still set up. The venue had glass doors and windows looking out onto the terrace, so while you could see and hear everything, it felt like looking into a velvet roped-off VIP area at a club. By about 7:30 p.m. the speeches started. In his speech, the groom reminded the guests that the honeymoon fund link was still open. Cue sound of pennies dropping. Next was cake cutting. No plates were offered beyond what was already on the tables. By this time it was 8 p.m. and we were starving. The tables were finally cleared away from the dance floor. My friend asked one of the staff if there were any snacks coming out. She was informed that all the food had been served earlier, but they had some Jamaican patties left over and offered to make us up some plates. My friend bought a packet of peanuts at the bar. At 9 p.m., I ordered an Uber to the nearest pub that was still serving food. My partner feels that maybe we should have stuck it out a bit longer and at least had a dance, but I was annoyed, and not nearly drunk enough to jump around to Chaz and Dave and disco mashups of Beatles tunes. Comment 1. NTA if there was genuinely no food available for evening guests. It sounds like you left after the main part of the wedding if speeches had been given and the cake had been cut. A long shot perhaps, but did you ask whether the food for the evening guests was served between 5 and 6:30 p.m? It sounds a little like there may have been very few evening guests invited, particularly if the bride and groom didn't do the rounds. Do you know if there were any others? Comment 2. It sounds like the norm is for evening guests to have snacks made available to them. Which makes sense, because people would be drinking, and typically you'd make sure there's food for your guests at a wedding. In this case, no food was available and you were hungry, so you left. NTA. Comment 3. NTA, bride and groom are though. You do not invite guests to the evening reception and not provide a buffet. I'm in Scotland and I've never heard of not having an evening buffet regardless of evening guests or not. That is so far beyond the bounds of etiquette here that it's just about orbiting Jupiter, though in fairness Scottish weddings can easily go beyond 1 a.m. I think it's different in England, but even so, 5 p.m. is a ridiculous time to invite people and expect them to have already eaten. My son is a single parent to a 15-year-old girl. A few weeks ago they moved in with us and they will stay here for a few years for reasons that I would rather not share in social media. One thing that I noticed about him is that he is very strict. I always knew he was strict, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. A few days ago when I got home I heard him yelling at my granddaughter while she was sobbing. Apparently she has been bullying a girl at school. Her punishment for this was she would be grounded all summer. She would not have access to any of her electronic devices during this time. She will be responsible for cooking dinner all summer. She has to write an apology letter to the girl. She will not be able to go to her guitar class. She will not be able to buy any novels or books during this time. She will have to write an essay on how a good person needs to behave. She will not get an allowance during this summer. She will spend the day in her bedroom and is not allowed to come out. I was very surprised by this and asked him if he would also consider jail or maybe execution. He snapped at me that it's none of my business how he parents his kid. I said it is my business since I'm his dad and this is my house. I will be doing most of the parenting while he lives here because he is clearly unable to do that, and if he has any problem with this he can leave. He told me I'm being an asshole and I told him to get out of my house and don't come back until he has calmed down. Comment 1, ESH. Sure, your son's punishments is extreme and will cause his daughter harm. But you don't have any right to parent that child. This is your house, so you get to decide the rule of the house, period. You can decide to kick them out if you wish. But this kid is not yours. You can't decide how to parent her. Comment 2. I get where you're coming from, but your approach is kinda bad. I think saying it that way crosses a boundary in a way that's too aggressive, and it might have been better to talk to him after he calmed down and try to reason with him. Cause having control wrenched away so decisively might just make him angrier or make him think he should retaliate, and if he retaliated it'd probably be at the expense of your granddaughter. Kind of an ESH but leaning toward NTA cause I think your heart's in the right place. Comment 3. ESH. His punishments are crazy and well over the top. You are literally acting the same. You're both lauding your authority over your kid. Wonder where he gets it from. In turn, I wonder where she gets it from. Talk to him. Help him see the error of his ways. Help him to understand how to punish adequately. Help him be a better parent. My brother and Sil are expecting their first child in July. So far they have no name, and in the last 3 to 4 weeks my brother has been trying to get my wife involved in this discussion. The reason he wants my wife to give her input is because his wife likes names he does not. He finds them ugly and not fit for grown people names, so boy names on girls, girl names on boys, unisex names, nicknames as full names and nature or word names. My wife and her siblings have names that fit all the things Sil loves and my brother hates. For example, my wife's first name is Birdie and one of her brothers is Delaney. My brother has a particular issue with my wife's name for hitting 3 of his no-no categories: nature, word and nickname. My brother has been arguing with Sil that the names she likes do not work for adults and she should go for something classic and sophisticated and not something that ages badly. Because of my wife and her siblings' names, he believed she would be on his side. Now, given my wife has kept her name for 28 years, you would think it would be clear this is not true and that she clearly doesn't hate it or feel like it's ruining her life. But my brother has asked her via text, DM and in person to get involved and speak about the issues with the names Sil likes. I told my brother to stop 4 times already. The other times that I didn't know about when they were happening, my wife told him she didn't feel she should get involved. My brother is getting more rude about it. Because he's insulting my wife and her siblings' names by using them as examples, insulting their intelligence by saying anyone with those names would be idiotic to keep them as an adult, and he's generally being a D about it by telling my wife she needs to speak to Sil for him. That she needs to speak up. When she doesn't need to do anything he tells her. I called him on being rude 2 days ago. I told him he can't make my wife side with him and he can't make her get involved when she doesn't want to. I said we both know this isn't our business, that this is their kid and they need to figure it out. My brother argued with me and said he wasn't being rude and he's allowed to ask for help to point out the dangers of giving a dumb ducking name. I told him he isn't owed her support and he owes her an apology for being so rude and insulting. My wife chimed in that he wouldn't like what she has to say. My brother told me not to be such a D about him looking for help so his kid doesn't end up with an awful name. Comment 1. NTA. Your brother is being rude and you already told him 4 other times to stop. You were entirely correct to tell him straight. If he does this again, tell him that you and your wife are blocking him until he agrees to stop or he's accepted a name. And then do it. He's also being extremely rude to his wife, and potentially causing her stress levels that aren't safe for the baby. He needs to decide whether his objection over her proposed baby names is worth his baby's life and potentially his marriage. Comment 2. NTA. And I would let your wife give him hell. He is insulting her whole family. She should put him, his wife, and you all on the email. Email from your wife: I personally love my name and the names of my siblings. Sorry, Sil, that you married in a hole who doesn't respect boundaries and hasn't learned to communicate like an adult. Husband and I will joyously celebrate you and the baby for whatever name you decide. Since my vote apparently counts in this baby name choice, I vote with Sil's choice 100%. Then North Carolina with brother, but support Sil and baby as much as you can. Comment 3. NTA. Your brother is though. Keep standing up for your wife. But at this point he would deserve her to put him in his place. Also, there are some very classic and long-used nature names out there that aren't weird. Your brother is being overly dramatic about the whole thing. My 27F, fiancé, 29M, and I are getting married in August. It is a tiny ceremony with only my parents and his 2 closest friends in attendance. We are then holding a party a couple of days later, where the wider family are invited to come and celebrate with us at a local venue. We have struggled a bit with the guest list, his mother isn't invited, and various other people who we either don't like or don't really speak to. It's not exactly an exclusive event, but we have prioritized the people we care about most. It's not a huge venue, so we can't invite everyone. The issue is that my eldest cousin's girlfriend bullied me when we were teenagers. We were best friends since nursery, but when we started secondary school, she, for no reason I am aware of, told me she didn't want to be seen with me anymore. I don't want to go into detail about it, but her bullying caused me to have an eating disorder so severe I was taken to hospital and received treatment. She made horrible comments about my body and got other people to join in as well. This went on for years. After we left secondary school, it stopped. I have seen her a few times since. I have not made conversation, but given her a polite nod and left it at that. She hasn't tried to talk me and she has not apologized. I know it may be silly to hold on to something that happened so long ago, but I still receive therapy today for the issues caused by the bullying I experienced. I have not invited her to the party, as I don't want anyone there who has said those kinds of things about me and done the things that she has done. My cousin has unfortunately said this means he will not be coming. This also means that my aunt is very upset and feels we are being unreasonable, and she is also threatening to not come unless we extend the invitation to her as well. My family do not know everything she has done, they think it is just silly teenager bickering, but it was so much more than that to me. I am feeling really conflicted about it, as I do want my cousin there. He is one of my favorite family members and does mean a lot to me. Am I being unreasonable? Should I suck it up for one day and let her come? I know it may be silly, but I just don't know what to do. My dad thinks if I don't want her that I shouldn't have her there, as it should be about me and my soon-to-be husband. My mum wants me to keep the peace and keep the family together on what she feels is a very important day. I just don't know what to do. My fiancé says it is entirely my decision as the experience is mine and therefore it could only be my decision. Comment 1. NTA. I guarantee you would regret her being there more than you'll regret your cousin, and even your aunt, not being there because they support someone who was so horrible to you. This is your day and your party. You do not have to invite anyone who would dampen that. Look, your fiancé apparently doesn't want his mother there and you're supportive of that choice. Completely NTA. Enjoy your party. Comment 2. Have you talked to your cousin about his girlfriend and the history you two have? Is he aware? I think you should start there. See what comes of that conversation. At the end of the day, It is your party and you get to decide who is in attendance. Why should you have someone who went out of their way to make you miserable be with you while you celebrate? NTA. Comment 3. NTA, your dad is absolutely right. This is your day and it's important that you and your husband are happy with the guest list. Your mom, on the other hand, seems to be more interested in going along to get along. Is your party and you can invite or not invite anyone you want. Comment 4. NTA. It might be different if she had apologized at some point. The abuse was serious and went on for a long time.